because because the sequester canceled all of the travel funds for their top-level staff. Delton Nichols, who is a wonderful guy, agreed to be, for the lack of a better term, our guinea pig here, and try something brand new for NYAHMA, and that is to do a video conference with Washington. And here we have Delton Nichols, who is the new Associate Director of REACT. And as you know, he does in charge of both the financial and the physical, has agreed to be our first person to try and do this live. And with Catherine McCrary, we have put this all together. We will also, at the end of his presentation, he can't hear you now, just on phone, but he has agreed to stay around and take your questions if you're interested. So Delton is a wonderful guy, and we really thank him for what he's doing. And I now give you Delton Nichols, who's going to bring you up to date on the new things in REACT.
Go ahead, Mr. Nichols.
For the introduction. And first of all, I want you to know that I'm very happy to be able to participate in your conference for the New York Affordable Housing Management Association. I really wanted to come up. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with sequester, and so travel funds are an issue across the federal government. So we will see how this technology will work out, and hopefully everyone can see me okay. And what I want to do this morning during this particular time is to give you some updates on some areas in REACT so you will know where we are, and hopefully to try to get an idea of some of the places we're trying to go. And but first of all, I would like to talk about some of the updates to the physical condition process. That's the physical inspections. And as you know, we recently released the 4.0 software. That's the new version. We were previously using the 3.2 version for all physical inspections. So starting on January the 2nd, we rolled the new 4.0 software out to the multifamily property inspections. We did some earlier work on the public housing side, and so I guess you can say the public housing side of the portfolio was the guinea pig, so we didn't test it out on you. But we rolled it out on January the 2nd, and we are satisfied with some of the improvements that this software brings to the table, and we trust that you are excited about those improvements. For example, one of the criticisms that we had, or should I say concerns that we had about the previous version of the software, the 2.3, was for properties with only one building. As you know, for a property with multiple buildings, the scoring is weighted. So the more buildings you have, the more the points, the deficiencies are distributed among the number of buildings, in which softens the effect of the overall score. So we added in our 4.0 software update the equity principle, which includes a point loss cap. And the point loss cap establishes cutoffs for properties with one building. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with those electrical hazards or the paint on a sprinkler head. And those in the past, particularly for one building properties, have been pretty large point losses. Generally around the 16 or 17 point area to lose on a single deficiency. So with the equity principle for properties with only one building, that the number of points that you can lose has been capped to, for example, 10. Now, let's look at the 5 individual inspectable areas concerning point losses. For the site, the most points that you can lose will be 7.5 for the maximum point deduction. And for building exteriors, the maximum deduction is 10 points. And for building systems, it's also 10 points. In common area, 10 points. For dwelling units, the maximum deduction of points is 5. Okay? So, with the new 4.0 software, one other feature of it is it has the ability to record multiple deficiencies. So take, for example, if there are, let's say there are 5 examples of a tripping hazard on a property. The inspector now has the ability to record all 5 of those deficiencies. In the past, only one instance of any given deficiency could be recorded. Now, this will have implications on, just for your information, this may have implications when you appeal. For example, if you appeal, let's say a tripping hazard, and you have, it's a level, if you appeal a level 3 deficiency, and there are 2 or 3 more instances of the deficiency, and let's say the next deficiency of the same type is a level 2, and then the third one is a level 1. Let's say during an appeal, if you appeal the level 3 deficiency, and let's say it's 3 points, and you get those 3 points back, but it drops down to the next instance of that same deficiency. So, and if that next instance is a 2-point deficiency, then you would also have to successfully appeal the 2-point deficiency. So I would encourage you, when you're preparing for inspections, if you see any deficiency, that you make sure that your maintenance people try to address each and every deficiency that he or she comes across in preparation for the inspection. Now, let me say up front that we want each property to get, let me put it like this. We want properties to do well. We do not get any pleasure out of a property not doing well on a physical inspection. And even when it comes to the appeal, I want the properties to get every point back that you are entitled to. And I'll talk about appeals just a little later. Now, let me pause for just a second and inform everyone that I also have in this conference room with me Daryl Griffin, who is the program manager, the director of the financial assessment subsystem for your financial submissions, and he has one of his supervisors, who is Maureen Moore, here with them. And so if you have questions concerning the financials, we have them available to address that. Okay, as you know, within the 4.0 software, we also have the Berger definitions. We've been wanting to include the Berger definitions since about 2003 or 2004. And funding was always an issue. So we have those definitions included in the new 4.0 software. And as you know, the Berger Group suggested a number of deficiencies should be written in a clearer manner, so everyone would understand the deficiencies and what's involved with that deficiencies better. So we've included the Berger definitions. As you know, the new software includes a decision tree. And the reason why it includes the decision tree is to enable the inspection process to be more objective. And for example, with the 2.3 version of the software, our inspectors were required to carry the dictionary of deficiency definitions in that head. They had to know those definitions. Now, even though the dictionary of deficiency definitions was on their Panasonic Toughbook or their laptop, for the most part, they were required to memorize those. Now, take for example, that hole in the wall. And every now and then we have properties who will complain about, you know, this is not a level 3, it was a level 2. And so with decision tree, when the inspector observes that hole in the wall, that software will ask him how long is that hole in the wall, how wide is it. We'll ask them several questions, and he or she will respond to each question, and the level of the deficiency would be prescribed by the software based on information that the inspector put in. Now, we encourage you, whenever you are having an inspection, make sure your person is there with the inspector. And as you know, inspectors are still, and they always have been required to call out deficiencies. If you have a case in which an inspector is not calling out deficiencies, please let us know, because you know, you are entitled to know what deficiencies are being recorded during the inspection. And as you know, the only instance in which an inspector is not required to call out a deficiency is if a representative, a property representative becomes angry or argumentative. And I'm sure, you know, that would not be the case. But we get that complaint every now and then. So if you call us and let us know, we will have someone to contact that particular inspector and remind him or her of the requirement to call out a deficiency. Now, as you know, I wasn't born yesterday, and some property representatives may think, you know, this guy is here inspecting my property, and if I call the technical assistance center on this inspector complaining, that inspector is going to unleash something unpleasant on me. And I would encourage you not to be fearful of that, because if we ever find out that an inspector is retaliating for any reason, you know, we really don't want inspectors in our program that would do that. So please take me up on that, because keep in mind, we depend upon you to give us information in any instance where you know that an inspector may not be following protocol, or if you feel the inspector is not following protocol, please make us aware of that. And we will definitely look into that particular concern that you have. Okay? There are some other instances of improvements to the software, and I'm pretty sure you've probably seen the new inspection report. And as you know, with the 2.3 software, what we've been doing with it is whenever an inspection comes in, is uploaded within the system, it has to go through our quality assurance check that we call checklist. And there's a batch file that the system runs every Wednesday and Thursday night. So let's say if your inspection was completed on a Friday and the inspector uploaded it that Friday, you would not, and it goes through the checklist, the QA process, you would not receive any results an inspection report until the following Wednesday or Thursday night. And let's say if it stays in checklist just a little longer, you may not receive an inspection report until a week or two. Now, there has been a myth out there that if there's a drastic change in the property score, let's say if the property score goes up significantly, let's say, for example, it goes up from last year it was at 50, and this year it comes in at, let's say, 90. There is a myth that some people think that we really scrutinize instances like that very closely. Sure, we are concerned about any variation or fluctuation in the inspection scores, but if you're at the same, with the same token, if your property score last year was 90 and this year it goes down to 50, we also take a look at those scores also. And what the protocol is, for example, if you scored 50 last year and this year you score 90, we are concerned about, did the inspector conduct the inspection to standard, and what some of our QA people will do is they will contact the field office to see if, significant preparation, significant money has been spent to improve the property. And I want you to know that happens in a lot of cases. And the same thing, when the score goes down, we generally contact the field office and ask the field, when is a contract inspector doing the inspection, ask the field office, what's going on with that particular property? Why has the score taken a downturn? And the field office generally gives us good information to help us get an accurate picture pretty soon. Now, I don't want to talk too long because I want to leave some time for questions. And just a minute, the screensaver came on, I think.
You'll pass us by my Judah law again. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, a screensaver came on. Just a little hiccup in the technology, and we're good. Let me talk about appeals just for a second. And would like to see you get all the points back that you're entitled to, because we know there are some code issues. There are some instances where an inspector may have marked a deficiency and the deficiency did not actually exist. On the letters that you send in, take for example, if it's a fire suppression system or a sprinkler head, when you get that engineer, or you get the fire marshal, or you get a building code person to write that letter, ask that person if they could be as specific as possible in the letter, because sometimes the letters that we get in are somewhat vague, and on occasion I have my people to contact the individual who wrote the letter for clarification rather than just, saying no and moving on to the next one. But I can't overstress that point enough, and that is, if you have a deficiency that was marked and you get a subject matter expert, the third party objective person, to give a statement on it, make sure that they are specific as possible. They don't have to write 2 or 3 pages or anything. It could be 1 or 2 sentences. It could be a paragraph, but they will need to just be as specific as possible. Now, I'm going to pause now because we are at 11:34 to see what questions you have. But just before we pause, I think I mentioned to you that DJ LaVoy, Don J. LaVoy, is the new Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Real Estate Assessment Center. And when I told him that I would be addressing you, I told him about an hour ago, he asked me to give you his regards. and to let you know that we are here to assist in whatever way that we can. Okay, so with that note, Catherine, I would like to see if there are any questions.
If there are any questions, Catherine will bring the phone to
Wait, questions? Kathleen?
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one right here.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, we're gonna, can you just speak into the mic?
Question.
Okay, where would we find out, or how would we know what version the inspector had when we did the inspection?
Did you hear that?
We were inspected April 1st.
Welcome to GoToMeeting, online meetings made easy. There are 1 other callers on the call.
All right, the question is, how do we know what version of the software is used when an inspection is being made? The last one was on April the 2nd.
Okay, as of January the 2nd, all of the inspections are supposed to be done in the latest version of the software, the 4.0 version. So any inspection after that.
How long do we have to appeal?
How long do you have to appeal? How long do you have to appeal?
For appeal, how long do we have for appeal? For a technical review, and a technical review appeal is you believe that the inspector made a mistake, the deficiency did not actually exist. That's 30 days from the date of the inspection release, the date the inspection was made available to you. And for a database adjustment, let's say if that's an issue where it involves code variance, let's say the bars on that window do not violate local code, you have 45 days for that particular appeal. That fence is not actually on your property, and even though it's real close to the property line, and let's say the fence has a hole in it, items like that, which are database adjustments, you have 45 days.
Any other questions?
And let's say if that appeal comes in over the weekend, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I would say if that appeal comes in over the weekend, we are not in that, the deadline is on a Saturday. If it comes in on a weekend and we don't see it until Sunday, we do not, we're not that unreasonable. We accept that appeal. Okay? Now, one thing I want to mention also is HUD there will be no physical inspections on the days, I am getting my list, there will be no physical inspections on the days of the sequester in which HUD is scheduled to be closed. And there are about 7 days, and in the first of those days is scheduled from May the 24th, and I'm trying to find my list here, but keep in mind that when HUD is closed, there will be no physical inspections. So if you have a contract inspector attempting to schedule an inspection on a day that it's one of the furlough days for HUD, then that individual should not be doing that.
Mr. Nichols, we have to take care.
I beg pardon?
We have to sequester dates already.
Oh, thank you, okay.
Thank you. Do we have a next question?
Yes, sir. I have
I have a 24 building,
a minuscule amount
on the sprinkler. The problem, I told Marcus, he was here a couple of years ago, what happens is they register as and the missing sprinkler head. That's the way it shows up. Missing sprinkler head in the trend. Obviously, the missing sprinkler head, the whole system will be down, and we lose 17 points. Every single time I've appealed it, I've gotten 17 points done. There's something wrong in the transmission.
And Mr.
Mr. Vargas was here 3 years ago as well, and it's still the same thing. I've had 3 or 4 already this year, so, and we always got the points back. But there's something wrong in the transmission.
Okay, when it comes to paint on the sprinkler head, that's part of the National Fire Protection Association code, and that code, which just about all of the states in the United States adhere to that code, and as long as the letter from that fire suppression company states that they are functioning properly, you will always get those points back. The problem is, let's say if you have some painting done between the previous inspection and the upcoming inspection, the inspector would not know whether the paint that is on those, let's say on a sprinkler head, was the same paint that was addressed in a previous database adjustment. Now, sprinkler heads are a little different from a fence. For example, if that fence does not belong to you and you get a statement or a letter from the owner of that fence stating that it is on their property, from the local zoning department stating that the fence is not on your property, and we enter that into our system, that will be in there forever. And whenever that deficiency comes up for that particular property inspection, though the inspector recorded as a deficiency, it will not count against you. But again, sprinkler heads are just a little different. And but that's something we'll look at and see if we can do some brainstorming about on that and see if there's a better way of doing that.
Right. You missed the point. The point is that it's a little minuscule amount of paint. It's not a missing sprinkler head. Every time it shows up as a missing sprinkler head, we lose 17 points. And we always get it back, but there's a lot of work to get it back. It shouldn't be a missing sprinkler head. That's the problem. That's what it shows up all the time. 2 years ago when Vargas was here, we had the same argument. He said that's impossible. But it happens, it still happens. It's got nothing to do with the minuscule amount of paint on there. There's not a missing sprinkler head. That's the problem.
Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. In some of the definitions, take for example, similar to the sprinkler head, like a sink in the bathroom. The deficiency will say sink missing. Now, you can be standing there looking at the sink, so you know it's not missing. But with an understanding of the protocol, actually that deficiency, what it's referring to as missing, is the stopper within the sink. So when on that definition, for the sprinkler head, that's a level 3. And the inspector is supposed to put a comment for level 3 that in the comment, it's supposed to state that there is paint on the sprinkler head. So no one will think that the actual sprinkler head is missing. But I follow what you're saying.
Thank you. We have one more.
Thank you. A couple of questions about Hurricane Sandy. With REACT inspections, will the REACT inspectors be given any latitude or specific instructions when dealing with properties that were damaged by Hurricane Sandy? And also, how long is there a limit to the period of time a building could be offline while making repairs because of damage caused by Hurricane Sandy?
Okay, we handle Hurricane Sandy situations through waivers. And when you, let's say, the property in the Office of Multifamily Housing, also communicates with us their desires whenever there is a national disaster that affects any particular area. And let's say if a property sustained damage from Hurricane Sandy, there are a list of properties that the Office of Asset Management, Multifamily Housing sends to us and tells us to not inspect for a certain period of time. So what you need to do in your particular cases is, let's say, if you are experiencing
You muted our video.
Muted on your end.
oh,
Your microphone is muted.
okay. And thank you, Catherine. So you need to be in contact with your field office and to keep them appraised of the condition of the property. And what they will do, your field office will enter that information into the IRM system, in which the properties that will be inspected is pulled from. And because when multifamily housing sends us a list, what happens is they send us a list of properties that they want us to inspect. And what they do prior to the list of eligible properties to be inspected, they send that list out to each individual field office. So let's say if they send that list to the New York City field office or the Newark field office, what have you, the field office is supposed to take a look at that list and see what properties are on there, and if any that are on the list should not be inspected. And they will also be looking for properties that were damaged by Hurricane Sandy. And so what they will do is remove that property from the list, and it will not come to us for inspection at that particular time. Hopefully that addresses the question.
Anyone else?
Any further?
Politics.
Anything else? Going once? Up?
Brad?
Be in the back.
We have one.
Question, it actually follows the previous question in that I know our office has been very instrumental in gathering information when there's a building-wide improvement or replacement.
Tell him he's on mute again.
Oh, he's on mute. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you better.
It's Verizon here. So I just want to make sure that with respect to a situation which is not necessarily building-wide, but it's in response to a local code, which New York often implements new codes, passes, that there is some consideration for that local code, whether it be energy enhancement or improvements in order to save dollars long-term, aside from carbon footprints, etc. I think it's important that we recognize that. Our office here has done everything I believe it can. We have to participate as a partner in giving them the information when we have building-wide, but I hope the same will happen when we have, for instance, public hallways being relamped or particular apartments being relamped or a central system like a heating plant, that would be considered during the inspection, even though we're carved out of the inspection while that program is underway.
Okay, so you are referring to rehabilitation, and I'm sorry, there were some parts of your question that I didn't hear, but let me make sure that I understand. So you're saying that when there are some instances in which you are doing rehabilitation, for energy, to increase energy efficiency, so on and so forth, that you're concerned about the inspections that are scheduled during that time while the work is going on?
Correct, and it's not necessarily building wide, it could be just public corridors versus stairwells versus a heating plant. So that there's consideration that when these fixtures are not attached to the ceiling, but perhaps hanging while relamping is going on, or similar, that's taken into consideration rather than considered as a deduction.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, let me say this, and then I will follow it up with a comment. If you have some repairs going on, and first of all, when the inspector calls to schedule the inspection, that inspector is not supposed to say, I will be out on July the 25th to do your inspection, period, bye. The inspector's not supposed to do that. That inspector is supposed to negotiate a mutually agreeable time within a reasonable window for that inspection to take place. And I would just encourage you, if you know at that particular time that you are going to have some work done, that you try to schedule around the inspection. And what you might also want to do is, if you have work like that going on, to let the field office know, and maybe your property could come up on the next list for properties to be inspected. And because when inspectors come out and there is work going on, as you know, inspectors don't do any of the scoring. All the scoring is done in the system. And the protocol calls for the inspector to record the condition of the property at that time. So if you have some light fixtures hanging, the inspector is obligated to record that. Now, if you have a contract going for the work that's being done, if you would send in a copy of that contract, and let's say appeal those deficiencies, more than likely those points will be returned to you. But I would suggest that you try to schedule around the inspection, around, not during the time that you're having the type work done, for the inspection to be postponed, because that will save you from having to submit an appeal.
One more.
One more comment.
Nichols, I just want to point out to you, and I appreciate what you just said, but the contractors that come in often come in from out of town, and usually the negotiation, if it's not requested by our hub office, often is a difficult negotiation because they are paying their consultants or individuals for the trip into New York, and they want to accomplish it all at once, so that whether it be 10 buildings or 100 buildings, you have a week or two time, so the negotiation usually doesn't survive that. So, but I think if we heed your advice otherwise and supply you with documentation, we look forward to your understanding.
Sure, absolutely. We will try to work with you as much as we can. And I would say, if you have difficulty with the negotiations, don't hesitate to contact me or someone on my staff. I'll call the Technical Assistance Center, because I wasn't born yesterday, and I do know that we have some contract inspectors who do not do exactly, anyway, they don't follow the protocol when it comes to negotiating the date. And to be frank with you, I would like to know who they are, because they are not just supposed to say, to demand a particular date. I get stories from time to time where a contract inspector will call and just leave a message on the phone and say, I'm John Doe, and I will be out to inspect your property on August the 3rd, and just hang up, say goodbye, with no number to call back or anything. It's not supposed to take place in that manner. And I would encourage you again, if you encounter that, please let me know, or let someone on my staff know, or call the Technical Assistance Center, and we will definitely get that taken care of.
Okay, one more question and we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Dalton, I wonder if you could address how REACT deals with environmental issues that might be beyond the scope and ability of the individual project to deal with them. Just for example, maybe situations where there's failing sewer systems that relate to the project, but maybe the whole neighborhood. Issues that may have been raised during the REACT inspection but weren't addressed by the inspector. And I wonder how those sort of fall into an appeal, whether there's a technical database or something else.
Okay, that'll be a database adjustment, and that's it. If you would get documentation from a third party indicating, it could be Public Works, that there is a sewer problem, and naturally you don't provide the sewer for your property. That's generally done by the city or the county. And if it's beyond your control, you appeal it through a database adjustment, and that's a 45-day appeal, and state those facts, and have something in writing on the letterhead from Public Works or city official, or from an engineer, and with their signature on it. And there should be no problem with those points being returned to you.
Dalton, hi. On behalf of NYAHMA, I just want to thank you for being our first video participant. It went wonderfully, and thank you and your staff for working with us to make this come through. It's just great, Dalton. Thanks.
And thank you. It was a pleasure being able to speak to you. And if you have any other further questions or anything, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here to assist you in whatever way I can.